Hey everyone, this is Carl. I want to talk about the action economy in Savage Worlds. What is the action economy? That is the concept in RPGs that define what a character can do within a turn. And normally it's combat, but it could be something else. Can you move, or how much can you move? When can you move? What can you do as far as attacking, spells, what have you? How do you react to others in the combat? You know, if they're moving away from you, do you get a free attack? That sort of thing. So let's talk about Savage Worlds action economy and some of the cool stuff built in that lets you do fun stuff.
It's a savage world, strangers a weird war. It's a savage world, classics to explore.
Hey, this is Carl Davis with Tabletop Tango. Would love it if you liked and subscribed. And I got a Twitter. Be cool to just get more numbers, be able to share this with more people. And I'm trying to use the community features, which would be cool. So anyway, let's get into it. So as I said, the action economy is what you can do within a turn. I'll use combat mostly as an example, but there may be other situations. You know, for example, there's kind of a turn economy in dramatic tasks, so to speak, and chases and that sort of thing. But let's talk about generally. So for those who aren't really familiar with Savage Worlds, you might know D&D, and D&D has an action economy of movement, action, bonus action if you have a character set up to do that, and then a reaction. So if you're familiar with D&D, that's this action economy. In Savage Worlds, there's some similarities. You have movement, you have actions, and you have free actions. And then, yes, you have a reaction to somebody else doing something like missing you if you have counterattack, or they're moving away from you so you get a free attack. In the book, it technically says movement is considered a free action. I'm going to treat them different because I feel like they're really different things. So you can move up to your pace each turn or each round that you're moving. And anytime within that movement, you can take another action. So you don't have to move, then act. And if you're doing multiple actions, those can also happen throughout the move. You can run. There's the run dice. You roll that. It gets you additional movement, and the only penalty there is on your trait rolls, which is -2. So movement or running does not take away from your actions that you can do. So free actions are kind of what you would think those are: dropping a weapon, dropping prone, saying a couple words, something very, very quick. Actions are where all the action takes place. And so actions are your typical, I'm attacking, I'm shooting, I'm casting a spell, or I'm using a power. I'm doing things like that. I'm doing a test, I'm doing a support roll, that sort of thing. So that's kind of the basics. But what's really cool in Savage Worlds is you can do multiple actions. So you can do up to 3 actions in your turn. There's a penalty. There's -2 for 2, -4 for 3. And you may say, well, that's pretty heavy duty, because the -2 in Savage Worlds can be pretty daunting. And so I've gone back and forth with a few folks, and they talk about, well, multi-actions aren't really useful. I kind of disagree, because I love using them. When I'm a player, I use them all the time. You know, penalty be damned. It's what my character is. They're like going to take a couple of shots as they're running across the chasm, whatever, you know. And there's things you can do to make multi-actions more tenable to your game. So let's start off with the obvious. The higher you get your die in your skill, so if you got a shooting of D8 or D10, well, now you've got a wider range where a -2 doesn't have nearly as much impact. D12, even better. So when you're in that situation, yeah, why not take a chance? Your odds are better. I don't know the mathematics, but it's a lot better than a D6 would be. So that character build out of increasing those skills is a great thing to do. When you're attacking, there's a thing called wild attack, which gives you a +2 with your attack. You become vulnerable, but that +2 can really get rid of that and make it a straight roll for 2 actions. So if you want to go in and you need to take out a bunch of mooks who are around you, and you need to do it fast so they don't get a chance to attack, wild attack's a great thing to do. People use it all the time. And don't forget about things like Elan, which gives you a +2 if you do re-roll something. So if you do take that penalty and you do miss and things don't happen the way you want them to, you can throw a Benny, use Elan, get that benefit. So there's just a couple of things you can do. There's a whole bunch of edges that, as you build your character out, you can kind of decrease those penalties and build out something that's kind of gets rid of those penalties, and then you really can go at it and do multiple actions. So, for example, let's say you're a shooter. Great thing to have if you're like got a single gun with a rate of fire of 1. You can build out with double tap. Awesome. And then with a signature weapon, if what you're double tapping signature weapon, you've got your pearl handled revolver, whatever, that +2 you get from both of those combined, there you go. 2 actions at a flat roll. Cool stuff. If you're kind of a hand-to-hand person, you got martial artist, which is a +1. So that takes away a little bit of that negative. If you're in a position to take advantage of something like calculating, you're at the bottom of a round, you have that put in, you eliminate 2 points of penalties. There you go. Helps out. Aiming, another great thing within the combat scenario. If you take your turn to aim, you get a +2, and you can get rid of, cover and other kinds of penalties. That's a great way of getting rid of some of those penalties that make multi-actions harder to do. So aiming's a great thing. Marksman, that edge also adds to some benefit there. For extras, you got fervor, which is a +1 to their actions. What you can take advantage of with the other players in the group. So let's say you have someone who's a heavy-duty kind of fighter. You want them to weigh in because they're going to do the most damage, and you want them to have multiple hits. Meanwhile, you've got somebody in the back who's not as effective in combat. This is a great time for a support role. Get some +1s piled up on that, on your frontline fighter, so that they can do multiple attacks, and it's going to be a lot better than they attack and you attack, where they're effective and you're ineffective from a damage or your ability to actually hit standpoint. Support, great opportunity for those who want to help benefit those frontline folks. Really cool stuff. Last thing that the game provides, if you want to have multi-actions and it's not really want to do a multi-action and get that penalty, there's the concept of two-gun kid and two-fisted, which allows you to use 2 weapons and attack with both of them. You get a minus penalty for being offhanded, but then ambidextrous is an edge that lets you then get rid of that penalty. So then you've got kind of flat shots or flat attacks on a single action. There's things, other ones that like rock and roll and stuff like that help within an action, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. Like Frenzy, you get to roll a couple dice. It's like 2 attacks within 1. I'm not really talking about that, but that's an awesome edge as well. So let's talk about it. So finish up. Savage Worlds action economy. You got to move. You can run just with a penalty. Doesn't affect your action. You can have up to 3 actions with a -2 or -4 penalty if you do multiple actions. And then you've got free actions that you can do that are quick things to do. Multi-action, big penalty, -2 can be considered heavy duty, but you've got all sorts of edges that you can build your character out to a point where you're doing some straight rolls for your multi-actions. Awesome stuff. I love building out characters where I'm a shooter guy all the time. So I love building out characters that, take advantage of things like trademark weapon and aiming and, two-gun kid and stuff like that, because I really like to have, from a cinematic standpoint, I want that guy who is running across, again, between the 2 parked cars, laying down fire. I love it. It's so cool. So anyway, Carl Davis with Tabletop Tango. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, like, subscribe, please. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks much.
It's a savage world. Strangers are weird war. It's a savage world. Classics to explore. It's a savage world. In the land of the dead.